Hi, welcome to the League-Kempner house in Galveston. Today I'm going to talk about the fans in this house. We did a previous video talking about light fixtures, and in there somewhere I think I showed you a quick shot of a ceiling fan that came out of the family bathroom on the second floor. Today I'm going to be dismantling that and getting it ready for restoration. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk briefly about the other fans in the house. There are 5, I think, that were put in when League-Kempner remodeled this house in 1920. They're not like modern fans that have a little motor in them. In these fans, as you'll see when I'm deconstructing the one downstairs, the whole housing is a motor, but they're in pretty good shape. There's one here in the third floor bathroom, there's one in the sun porch, one in the butler's pantry, one in the kitchen, and that one from the bathroom. So that makes 5 that are in this house from 1920. So these fans are 100 years old. This one I think is in the best condition. It's got this beautiful frosted glass. The pull chain on off switches are here for both the fan and the light. The fan looks to be in great shape. It may not need reworking or rewiring. It may just need a good cleaning. So at some point we'll take it down, get it over to the fan restoration guy and have him check it out and test it. Cool to have. Again, not back from 1893 when the house was built, but still these fans are 100 years old. So let's get busy and start tearing apart that one from the family bathroom. It's in the worst shape and it's going to have to be completely rebuilt, but it'll give us a chance to get inside and see what they really look like. We took this ceiling fan down months ago and it's just been sitting around waiting to be worked on. You can see it has this ceramic kind of spindle at the top that fits over a hook that hangs from a joist in the ceiling. It's very heavy, so the hook is really large to hold all of this weight. The fan is really dirty and covered with thick layers of paint, and this light fixture at the base of it looks to be in pretty rough shape. There's a lot of banging and sawing and noise going on in other parts of the house, so I elected not to use the microphone and just voice over to describe what I'm doing. Your ears would thank me if they could hear what's going on in the background. The first thing I had to figure out was a way to work on the fan. The blades are fragile, and because they turn and spin, I needed to get it stationary. I used 2 ladders with boards in between and suspended the fan upside down. It had to be high enough for that long rod it hangs from to clear the floor, and the ladder was perfect because I could raise the boards up and get them at the right height. It ended up being very comfortable to work on. It was right at a good working height for me. The first thing you'll notice is that it's very dirty and covered with several thick coats of paint. I decided to work on removing the fan blades first to get them out of the way and expose the housing, which is what I really wanted to get into and see. The blades are attached with 2 screws each, and the slots are filled with old paint and grime, so I first had to scrape that out and restore the slot to get the screwdriver in. Then, as we've talked about before, the old screws don't always work with modern screwdrivers, so I brought up a big assortment of tools from my tool room to see if I had something that would work. It was a little bit of trial and error to come up with something that would fit, but once I got the screw freed up, it was actually pretty easy. The screws weren't rusted in place. They had just been there a long time and they were a bit dirty, but they weren't as corroded and gross as sometimes you see with old screws. So I was optimistic. I started to remove the hardware from the fan blade, but after scraping on it and looking at how the hardware is attached, it seems to me like they're not put on with screws. It appears to be some kind of rivet. So I'm not going to work on that now. I'll set them aside and come back and look at that another day. For right now, it was good enough just to get the blade off the motor housing, because that was kind of the prize I was looking for, was to get inside that motor housing and see how this fan works. Our super sleuth Heather has been doing some searching online, and she's found someone who restores these old fans, and they're located in Austin, Texas. It's great to find somebody who knows about these fans and can work on them, and it's just an added bonus that they're so close by, because these fans are extremely heavy, and I would hate to think what the shipping cost would be. And I just happen to have a grandchild in Austin, so taking a road trip with this fan will be a special treat for me. Of course, like all projects, this one gave me a false sense of security when that first blade came off easily. The others were a little more difficult, and the last one just didn't want to come off at all. But I worked and worked and worked at it, and I finally got it off and was able to move on to the housing itself. Take a close look. There's a fan speed adjustment, which seems to be broken. Unlike modern fans where you can pull on the chain and change it from speed to speed to speed, you'd probably have to stand on a stool or something to reach up and adjust the speed on this fan, because it would be much higher off the ground than you could reach. It may be time to get a new glove. I need to take this housing apart to expose the motor. There were some screws on the side, and I'll go after those first. The motor housing is two separate pieces, but the paint was so heavy you almost couldn't see where they came together. First, I had to dig the paint out of the screw slots like I did with the fan blades. It was fairly slow going, but it's not rocket science, it's just tedious. No? Well, that's shocking. Even with the screws removed, the housing was really stuck together. Among my tool assortment was a strange little tool. I don't even know what it is, but it worked perfectly to cut through the paint. Because this housing is two separate pieces and it's painted together. I need to be able to cut through that paint. That seems to be helping. I still couldn't separate the housing with my bare hands, so I decided to use a pry bar. You might think a tiny pry bar would be more delicate and that this big one is a little extreme, but the wider surface distributes the force, so it's less likely to bend the metal. The housing is pretty sturdy, but I still don't want to hurt it. I just was very gentle with the amount of force I exerted, and I worked my way around the housing until it finally came free. Tapping, and I think I feel movement in my hand. I'm going to do a couple places. Okay, and I'm going to hope for the best. Fingers crossed. Oh, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. I hear it. You can't hear it. Oh, but I do. I do. Oh, I'm close. Look. Look, it's separating. I'm going to do it evenly all the way around. Ah, there it goes, there it goes. Okay. I think I got it. Ooh, oh. Okay, I hit myself in the head. With the housing fully removed, you can see the motor windings. That's these copper spool-like things that surround the circumference of the motor housing. Electric motors rely on magnetic fields created when electricity flows through copper wire windings such as these, which turns the central part of the motor called a rotor. This is still the technology that's used today. Modern ceiling fan motors are usually much smaller because you don't need that much power to turn a fan blade. Here's a picture of a common fan motor today. But look, here's one from a washing machine. It's much larger. It needs to be larger because it needs more power because a washer full of clothes and water is really heavy. I'm not going to get into any more detail of how a motor works because I was never good at electricity. My brother's an electrical engineer and he thinks something must be wrong with me because I just can't get past the basics, and I hate to put incorrect information into these videos. Maybe I'll get him to help me with a more detailed video for those of you who'd like a more complete explanation. I continued to work on the pieces that I could take apart without doing any damage to the electrical workings of the motor. I'm going to stop for now. I've done about all I can do without talking to the fan restorer. I really need to understand this winding assembly here before I start dismantling it. Kind of like a doctor, first do no harm. He's the expert, and I need to know exactly what's going on here so I don't mess it up for him being able to restore it. But the rest of it does need to come apart because he does not actually clean and refinish all these pieces. He just handles the wiring assembly, so it still needs to come apart. But I'll quit. Maybe I'll take these home and strip them and get all this cleaned up and the housing that I was able to remove and the parts and get that started, and then get this stored safely someplace. So at some point we can take it to Austin and do that. Now that's the fun thing about the fan restorer being in Austin, because my grandbaby is in Austin, so I will definitely be making that trip to drop off this fan and get some grandma time in there. When we get further into the restoration, we'll talk about exactly how this fan works and how it's different from modern fans. Until then, thanks for watching. Remember, the League-Kempner House is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to saving this amazing house. You can help us by going to our website, leaguekempnerhouse.org, and making a donation, or just keep watching these videos and sharing this channel with your friends. The more viewers we have, the better off this house is. So subscribe and turn on your notifications, because there's a lot more work to do to restore this incredible house. See you next time here at the League-Kempner House in Galveston, Texas.